and it's Skybound with the Talking Joe guys. Everyone calm down. We're here to talk comics, and it's Skybound with the Talking Joe guys. Everyone calm down. We're here to talk comics. Skybound. At Skybound.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. Now, today we have got a mini episode which will be looking specifically at Transformers issue 13 because of some G.I. Joe related content in that issue. If you have not read it and you don't want spoilers, then pause this, read the issue, come back. Now, talking to me about this issue is my regular host. It is none other than a real Cybertronian Tim. It's Tim Finn.
You know what? Maybe instead of Cybertronian, because that's the whole planet, I think I should be an Iaconian Tim. Because Iacon is the Autobot city-state, and America... yeah. Anyway, hello, Mark, and hello, listeners. I'm a big Transformers fan. You might not know this because you hear me talking about G.I. Joe, but when Mark suggested a mini episode, I said, mini?
Macro, if anything. So I'm a little bit behind on my Transformers reading. I've got a stack of the 12 issues to reread / read for the first time, but I did launch into issue 13 just to see what all of the fuss was about with the G.I. Joe content in there. So before we get into it, let's just get the background. This is Transformers issue 13, which was released October 9th, 2024. It is by Daniel Warren Johnson as the writer, Jason Howard as the artist, and Mike Spicer as the colorist. Russ Wooten letterer. Synopsis. Summary. It's the new arc and a secret origin of Starscream. After the stunning events of his battle with the Decepticons, Starscream has been left for dead. Now the secret to surviving the future may be revisiting his shocking past. Tim, where do you want to start? Should we just sort of flick to the kind of the G.I. Joe related content, or do you want to start somewhere else?
Oh, just a sentence saying that the first page takes place now, and then much of the comic is a flashback. Mm-hmm. And then halfway through, actually at the one page before the centerfold, we cut back to now. Mm-hmm. And that's when the G.I. Joe related scene happens. And if you are wondering if this is enough G.I. Joe to merit a $3.99 purchase, listeners, the G.I. Joe related scene is 4 pages. So it's 1/4, it's almost 1/4 of this comic. And I think this is just going to happen more and more between all the books, and it's just going to be more and more fun, or harder and harder for all of us to, for all of you who aren't buying all the books, to not buy all the books.
Yeah, because essentially for G.I. Joe, almost all of the content to date has been in a G.I. Joe book, apart from, I think, Transformers issue 2, which sort of tees up Duke and Void Rivals starting with issue 13, and then there was that combined Energon Universe special. So this is a kind of a rare G.I. Joe appearance outside the pages of a G.I. Joe centric book. So teeing up the story, there's a big battle between Soundwave and Starscream, where Starscream is basically cut in half and left for dead. I'd say bleeding out, but it's oiling out, blue stuffing out. And so that happens at the beginning of the story. We then have a sort of a flashback as he's sort of just lying on the ground, sort of images of his life passing through his head, and then we're back into the present, and he's sort of crawling away half of his body, and then collapses. And then we get this like silhouette of a figure appear with a chain over his shoulder, spiky-ish hair and a beard, and that chain makes you think, ooh, is that maybe a dreadnought or something? The chain, it goes around Starscream, and is connected up, as the page turn happens, to a hiss tank with a kind of crane on the top where the sort of gunner position would otherwise be, and there's a team of like 4 doing this.
It's a salvage crew.
A salvage crew. Thanks, Tim. So we got this main guy, sort of a big portly chap with an orange beard and a kind of spiky hair, almost a Mohican, and then 3 others plus a cat.
I think what's worth pointing out immediately is that we don't know who any of these characters are in terms of their names or their visuals. The main guy, who's got the cigar, who's got the mohawk and the beard and mustache, because of that hair, makes me think of a dreadnought. But they have sort of mid-thigh boots like the Baroness. Mm-hmm. Sort of with those like links of armor, and they've got chest armor like bulletproof vests, and they're in gray, and so you've got this redhead big guy, you've got this skinny younger guy who's literally drawing on a spiral pad sketchbook with a pencil. You've got this
that's Martin.
Thank you. You've got this woman sitting up on his tank,
Raz,
with a white cat, and then there's the guy who's driving, who's got a goatee, or just a chin goatee, no mustache, and sunglasses, although those are up on his forehead. So this scene is exciting and puzzling because we as readers don't have any way of connecting this with anything we've seen so far. Mm-hmm. It's not like one of them is Scrap Iron. It's not like one of them is Mercer. It's not like they're getting a radio communique from Destro. We don't know how this team of 4 people connects, except in very, very broad strokes, which is that Destro knows about Transformers over in the pages of Destro and Duke, and we know about Mars, and we have seen both black hiss tanks and red hiss tanks in the pages of Destro, where Destro has black hiss tanks and Tomax and Zaymot have stolen the schematics somehow, and they have their own that are crimson. And then maybe sort of the other thing to say here is that Starscream is the through line because he's the Transformer who a Joe or a pre-Joe saw in about 12 months ago in terms of reading comic books. And he is now, over in Transformers, humans have seen Optimus Prime and Shockwave and Beachcomber, several humans, a hospital full of doctors and, a kid and his friend and his dad. Over in sort of the G.I. Joe part of the Energon universe, it's just been Duke. And it was this guy. It was Starscream.
And Cobra Commander as well, actually.
Yes, thank you. So this scene would have a different or sort of more puzzling or teasing resonance if it was any other Decepticon who these 4 humans had found. But the first 2 arcs of Transformers have been focused so much in terms of Decepticons on Starscream and Shockwave, and we have not seen Megatron. So there are 2 big spoilers for this issue 13 of Transformers. One is there's a 4-page scene that's related to G.I. Joe. And 2, although it's in a flashback, Megatron shows up. Megatron finally shows up. And we have A, not seen him in the first 12 issues of Transformers. B, that includes flashbacks and present day. And C, his name has barely even been mentioned. Once or twice, someone's about to say his name, and Starscream yells at them, "Don't say that name." And so Daniel Warren Johnson, in writing this series, has been very much in the same way, similarly to how Snake Eyes has not shown up, and they're trying to hold off as much as they can. And we have no idea when Snake Eyes might show up, although I feel like Megatron was definitely going to show up 6 or 12 months into Transformers. Similarly, they are holding back on Megatron.
Okay. So we get some, beyond just the visuals of the Hiss tank, we get some quite just mysterious dialogue about this guy with the mohawk, who is definitely not Ripper, because we have seen Ripper in the Energon universe, and he does not have a red beard, etc. Unless he's dyed it. So he says, "You know who my father was, Martin?" "Of course, sir. One of the best to ever do it." "Damn right. He was a genuine American hero. Before being recruited by Mars." "That's right, Raz. Hey." And then they have a bit of exposition about the loading up the Transformer. And then he continues, "My father was a legend. Celebrated, remembered, worshipped even in death. And what do I get? Command of this piece of crap unit. Relegated to salvage with these nincompoops. This is an embarrassment. I should be at the top. Oh, that changes now." I guess him getting hold of Starscream is his ticket to the top and getting him on the map. A nice bit of leverage. But yeah, very mysterious dialogue. His father was a genuine American hero. I thought at first that we were in the future, because it all looked a bit dystopian, and I was thinking about, is this like the son of Duke or something? No, we're in the present. This is the present day Transformers story. Before I gave my theories, what did you think? What was your reaction to all of this, Tim?
I didn't know, and I didn't really have any guesses, but Genuine American Hero reminded me of the Joshua Williamson line from Duke, Real American Nightmare, where it's playing on something familiar and then turning on your expectation. I don't know. I don't have guesses, but I'm very aware that these 4 people are all, 1 or 2 of them are young. They're all quite different from each other. But I sort of thought that they were, I think my initial impression was that they were actually not sort of active in Mars, that they were somehow, disgruntled former employees, or like the Skunk Works off on a sort of a secret R&D mission. But I don't know. And I don't understand how this person might sort of generationally connect to American heroes, and sort of, if this is a red herring, or if if we'll see a connection to G.I. Joe, or, pre G.I. Joe. But you had a guess.
I had a guess, which was just in terms of like generationally, if this is someone's son, and it being the American hero, my guess was, could this be Joe Colton's son?
Yeah, maybe.
That's all I got.
I just want to say one last thing. When I see big construction vehicles that have cranes on them, or like the real life version of the Constructicon Hook, they have, I don't know what you call it. They have like they sort of plant. They load the ground near the wheels. They like stretch out sort of tripod legs, and they like plant themselves into the ground or onto the ground, so that whatever this vehicle is has a wider, sort of lower stance, so that when it does its crane hooking lifting, its like center of gravity is lower and more spread out. And as soon as I saw this splash page of this Hiss tank, and I have always thought of Hiss tanks as beautiful and elegant, and also tall and slim, right, and like not easy to knock over. But as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh, this needs like support, an extra, this needs like a side support coming from either. It's like, oh, I wish someone had drawn a modified Hiss tank that was the actual salvage Hiss tank that could lift up half of an alien robot, because I feel like this thing's going to topple over. And then, wouldn't you know, it doesn't topple. It's actually not clear. It's not clear if it topples. I don't think it topples over. I think the chains break, or maybe the crane snaps. But either way,
it's too heavy.
Yes,
it's not gonna
heavy.
breep. Yeah, lap. But it's exciting to see a bit more of the joined universe kind of featuring in the pages of Transformers, and for me, who is much more of a G.I. Joe reader, it's certainly going to make me pay more attention to what is going on in the events of Transformers, and rather than perhaps the issue just being added onto my list of issues that I need to read, it will be much more of I probably need to have a quick look at what's going on day of release.
And remember, folks, we are definitely about to have a G.I. Joe and Void Rivals connection over in the pages of Void Rivals. So I know comics are expensive, but rather than reading 1 or 2 G.I. Joe comics, I think now is the time to read 4 or 5 G.I. Joe and Transformers and Void Rivals Energon Universe comics. I think now is the time to embrace it all.
Very good. Next time on Talking Joe, you can continue to hear us talking about the issues of G.I. Joe as they come out, whether that's A Real American Hero, G.I. Joe, the newly launched series from Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley, very, very exciting, or whether we're looking back to the Devil's Due era or something else entirely. You can find us in the usual places. talkingjoe.co.uk is the website that directs you to various places that we are, like on Facebook or on Twitter, where we are as Talking Joe, and also on Talking Joe Comics on Instagram. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/Talking Joe, where our backers Richard, Sam, Bill, Christopher, Justin, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank and Mike will get early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Tim, where can people find you?
On YouTube, look for Atomic Abe. That's for essays on TV and film. My brick and mortar comic book store in Somerville, Massachusetts is Hub Comics, and the website is hubcomics.com. And I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, arealamericanbook.com.
And Tim, and where can people find the G.I. Joe artist Tom Riley on the Saturday after G.I. Joe issue 1 comes out?
Why, Mark, artist Tom Riley will be signing at my brick and mortar comic book store, Hub Comics, in Somerville, Massachusetts, on Saturday, November 16th, from noon to 4 p.m. That is indeed just 3 days after issue number 1 of G.I. Joe, drawn by Tom Riley, is released.
Great stuff. So, I think that is us done for now. But until next time, please remember that
Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast!
Laters.